today. I'm just covering some beginning here time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's lovely.
yeah. I'm heading for a retreat in the forest.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, just some quiet contemplation, connecting with nature. That's going to be interesting.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful
Yes,
day.
it's a beautiful, beautiful 27 Celsius here today, so it'll be lovely. We just
Well,
had to
great.
wear enclosed shoes because there's likely to be snakes about.
Wow.
Great.
Snake.
That's
There
okay.
are snakes about, by the way. There are snakes about.
They're always, yeah.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
did that earthquake affect you?
No, I heard about it and I slept through it. It was a very light one apparently, and it was 1 a.m. in the morning,
Oh, well,
roughly.
we just
Okay.
had one here and it was a big one. It was 6.3 down
So
at South.
that was the same one then, was it?
No.
Six. Yeah, we just had it. We just had it about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, no, this one was a couple of nights ago.
Wow. Yeah, it's the biggest one it was bigger, I believe, than the one I felt in 2018 here in Hawaii. So,
Yeah.
uh, may Yahuwah protect the people of this island from any lava coming their way. Because that's what happened the last time. We had lava for months on end. So we are live on YouTube now, I believe, and we are going to be studying Revelation 14. So we welcome anybody who's here to study along with us. We welcome you to study with us. And we're going to go over to our page here. Interestingly, we're going to look at Revelation 14. Sorry, that's a feedback loop. That's a video feedback loop. When you go over to YouTube, it's like, don't go there. That's what phones and things like that, iPads, stuff like that are for. So we're going to read Revelation 14. Does anybody want to read?
I'll go ahead and read, and I'm going to read what you've got up there, but I'm going to go slow on verse 1.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Revelation 14, this is the scriptures, verse 1. And I looked, and I saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their foreheads. Stop. So when you look at that 144,000, like I said previously, it's something that maybe people can check on their own. But in the J.P. Green interlinear, it does say in the plural, it's 144,000s. So 144,000 from each tribe. And I know, Darla, that we checked on that in your group and it all confirmed it. And they have his name. And I believe that is the restored name written on their foreheads. Anybody want to comment on verse 1?
Was that in the Greek or the Aramaic on the thousands?
Aramaic. I want to say J.P. Green interlinear. It's been a while since I've looked that up, but
yeah, I think
check it. Yeah,
translation, right? The one that they're using in English, I believe, is a King James.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So, does anybody have any comments before I go to verse 2?
Not at this time.
All right, verse 2. And I heard a voice out of heaven, and I heard a voice, heard like Shema, listen. I heard a voice, and Yah says for us to hear his voice and to know his voice and to hear his voice. That's why we need to listen. So I heard a voice out of heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. Okay, stop. Anytime you see three things repeated in scripture, voice is repeated 3 times right there. That is always a reference to death, burial, resurrection, redemption, silver. So 3 times that is always a picture of Messiah. So 3 times voice is listed there. A voice out of heaven, a voice of many waters, and a voice of loud thunder. So anybody got any comments there?
Can we just read through it and then we can communicate about it after that? So we get sort of a flow of it and the overall picture of the chapter, and then we'll go back and discuss it verse by verse.
All right. And they sang a renewed song before the throne, before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. They are those who are not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits of Elohim to the Lamb. And in their mouth was no falsehood, for they are blameless before the throne of Elohim. And I saw another messenger flying in the midst of heaven, holding the everlasting good news to announce to those dwelling on the earth, even to every nation and tribe and tongue and people, saying, verse 7, saying with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heavens and the earth and the sea and the fountains of water. And another messenger followed, saying, Babel is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. And a third messenger followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark upon his forehead or upon his hand, he also shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath, and he shall be tortured with fire and sulfur before the set apart messengers and before the Lamb. Verse 11. And the smoke of the torture went up forever and ever, and they had no rest day or night, those worshiping the beast in his image. Also, if anyone receives the mark of his name, here is the endurance of the set apart ones. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yahuwah. I think that is
Yahushua. Sorry, it's Hebrew and it
Yahushua.
says,
Yeah. And I heard a voice out of heaven saying to me, write, blessed are the dead who die in the Master from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, in order that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them. And I looked and I saw a white cloud sitting, and sitting on the cloud was one like the son of Adam, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another messenger came out of the dwelling place, crying with a loud voice to the one sitting on the cloud, "Send your sickle and reap, because the hour has come for you to reap, because the harvest of the earth is ripe." Verse 16, and the one sitting on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another messenger came out of the dwelling place, which is in heaven, and he too held a sharp sickle. And another messenger came out from the altar, having authority over the fire, and he cried with a loud voice to him having this sharp sickle, saying, "Send your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, because her grapes are ripe." And the messenger thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth, and it threw it into the great winepress of the wrath. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the wine presses up to the bridles of horses for about 300 kilometers.
Wow. What a picture. It's amazing. Well, let's go check out that 144,000. We've got images here that Bonnie prepared for us from the Aramaic English Interlinear. Bonnie, can you tell us who this translation is from that you have access to from Australia?
It's Glenn Boucher.
And is he there locally in Australia?
I don't know. I don't know where in the world he is. This book was given to me by a beautiful fellow that is rewriting the English phonetically and singing made up scriptures in whatever language comes to his mouth in the parks locally here. And he's in his 80s.
That particular translation does not have it in the plural. It's only in the singular.
Here. Can you guys see my little, it's got a little magnifying glass on here. I don't know if you guys can see it on screen or not, or if it's just me. Anyway, I've got a mouse there as well. But Aleph Lamed Pei Yod Nun. Got a Klein's here. A Klein's dictionary. So it looks like it's saying thousands there. Unless it's you know, it's obviously 144 is thousands. Right? It's 1,000 plus another 1,000, another 142 beyond that. So those are thousands. They are 144 is thousands. 1,000 is thousands. So that's one way of looking at it. Right? If I tell you 400, that's 400s.
It is a fascinating thought, though, isn't it? Because the debate's gone on for centuries about, oh, look, I want to be part of the 144,000, the 12,000 from each tribe. It's like, yeah, good luck with that when we've got like, what, 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah. So actually, the client is not showing me an Aleph Lamed Pei Yod Nun. This is where our ISA, is it ISA? It's not ISA, is it, Bonnie? The other one you guys have with the Aramaic in it.
OANT, I think it's the original Aramaic New Testament.
And is that...
Yeah. Where's Terry today?
I and oi. Alas. Oi means alas in Hebrew. Interesting. Aleph Lamed Pei Nun means teaching instruction. That's interesting.
You might want to check Revelation 7:7 because it goes into the tribes that were sealed. And that's where it goes into, you know, 12,000 from each tribe.
Well,
So
even, I was just
the
saying,
English, go ahead.
sorry. I'm just saying, even if it says 12,000, 12 is still 1,000 times 12. So that is thousands. Even if a 12 is 1,000 times 12, right? So it is thousands, even in that form. I'd have to study that a little bit more closely, try to get somebody who spoke the Aramaic or some sort of Aramaic authority. Are we talking about there's 144,000 or just that it's 144,000s?
No,
I
it's like from the tribe of Asher,
yeah.
and yeah, 12,000 were sealed. It's 12,000s.
But 12, does anybody else see what I'm saying? If you have 1,000, that's 1,000. But if you have 2,000, that's two, it's thousands times two. So that's how I'm seeing it, how I'm receiving that. So I would say it probably takes a little bit more investigation on it for that to be a closed deal.
Well, you had already done it back last fall when I brought it up, and you
It
and
says down,
Terry brought up the document, and it did support it. But
yeah,
people can do that on their own time, and out of the JP Green interlinear
yeah.
does support that.
There's
So it's
okay.
something
So look
I
at it.
don't know.
Can you bring that
It's
up? Bring up a
it's
screen.
something to think about,
Sure,
because
definitely.
it could be 12,000, 12,000s.
Don't know
Well,
where this went to. Let me pull it back up. Here we go.
Well, what has been will be again. Is that not what's written? There is nothing new under the sun. So the amount of people that ended up leaving Mitzrayim itself,
Yeah,
there was way more than a 12,000 out of each tribe, 144,000 out of each tribe. So
yeah,
I tend to go from what has been will be
sure,
again.
sure. Okay, so and here it does say thousands. It says thousands, but my point is it's saying it's more than 1,000. 4,000 is four 1,000s, right? So that's my point. And anyway, we can go beyond that, and we want to talk about his name, right? So his name is upon them. And I think Gail is correct. This is Yahuwah's restored name. His restored name.
I agree.
And for instance, sorry, the King James translation says in the forward, and especially in older King James, not the brand new ones, it says in the forward, out of consideration for the tradition of the Jews, Yahuwah, I think it says Yahweh, was exchanged for the Lord, and Elohim, God was exchanged for, around the other way. Yeah, they took out God and they put in, or they took out Elohim and put in God. So that's why in our English translations, in the churches we grew up in as children and beyond that, it was always the Lord God, because they removed his name from the scriptures, which is, let's go over to Exodus 20, where Yahuwah tells us not to make his name vain. Somebody's got two mics open, maybe. Hearing a little bit of feedback. Exodus 20. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, this is what it says in the Hebrew, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations, to those who hate me, but showing kindness to thousands, to those, here's the word thousands, we could look at this word in the Hebrew, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to nothingness, to naught, to vain emptiness, the Hebrew word means. Shua. For Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Let's go look at that verse. We'll look at the word thousands just because it's in the verse prior. Go to interlinear. It will be a Hebrew word. 20 verse 6. Got to get rid of our little advertisement down here. Okay. But showing mercy to thousands. Here we go. So Aleph Lamed Pei Yod Mem, and then in the Aramaic they have Yod Nun. Thousands. This is how we say thousand in Hebrew. They added a Yod Mem for a plural suffix of thousands. We may be able to get down here and find it in Daniel. It might, if the word was used, it would have a nun on it likely. Down here at the end of all this line, I'm looking for a nun, the ending sound of an in. That's what I'm looking for here. To see if we have one in the Aramaic in the Tanakh, aka the Old Testament. It is not there. So we don't have thousands in Aramaic out of, say, Daniel, which is half of its Aramaic. Okay, and then we're going to go look at verse 7.
Back up to verse 1
Okay.
about his name. It has having his name and the name of his father. So you've got the Father and the Son written right there.
Are you talking about the Exodus we're in right now or Revelation 14?
Oh, Revelation 14.
Okay, we'll get there. We're just gonna go look at 7 real quick about what he says about not bringing his name to vain emptiness. And
Okay.
the reason I'm doing this is because someone one time said, in fact, it was a pastor of a congregation in Oregon called Torah to the Tribes. And somebody had brought it to his attention that it can't be Yahushua because this Shua here is, or Shawa here is in vain. But Eric Bissell, when I asked him about it, he was like, that's an aleph, that's not an ayin. So it matters. It matters in Hebrew how words are spelled. Oh, interesting here. Look at this. We've got some shins in this. Who takes his name in vain? We've got shin here in the first word, who, and then we've got yisa for takes, and we've got the et, the aleph and ta. We know what that represents. And then we've got Shamu, his name, and then we've got Lashua in vain. So again, this is an ayin. This is not part of Yahushua. It is not Yahuwah in vain. That is not what Yahushua's name means. It means his salvation. Yahuwah is his salvation. Yahuwah is salvation. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Revelation 14. But yeah, that's what the King James and all of its daughter, all the versions that came out after King James, what they went to is I guess I've got my little Zoom bar here in the way. Here, we'll go back here. Now I got 2 Bible Hub windows open. That's great. Okay, so here we are in Revelation 14. Yeah, and here's somebody that was concerned about his name not being taken in vain. Okay, Gail, you were going to say something about this verse.
Yeah, because it says having his, a different version I was reading, having his name and his father's name. This, it's not in the scriptures. Let me go back and I'll tell you. King James, the Peshitta, the James Murdoch translation, the New American Standard Bible with Codes, the New Jerusalem Bible, they all say with his name and his father's name written on their forehead.
And I will confirm, Gail, over here in the Aramaic English, what is this? Aramaic interlinear. Sorry guys, my brain's not working so well. The Messianic Aleph Tav interlinear scriptures also his name and the name of his father. So there are two names, not one.
Right.
Translation, that fact is not coming out. However, in the Peshitta from the 1st century, it's there. His name and the name of his father written upon, it says written upon in between their eyes. That's interesting. In between their eyes.
In the Young's literal translation, it does go into 144,000 with an S. In the plural, means more than one. So
I'm not disagreeing. It's not more than one. I'm just saying when you have 144,000, you have 144 thousands. That's 1,000 at a time times 144. That's just how I'm receiving that information. I'm not saying it's not plural. It's thousands, but is it one? If it's 1,000, it's 1,000. But if it's 144,000 each, it's thousands.
So
I use this a
it's
little bit like,
something to think about, it's something to consider.
yeah. Welcome, Sherry. We're glad you're here with us, sister. We just did a reading of Revelation 14, and now we're just kind of going through it verse by verse.
Thank you. I had to even though it's ShaBaT, the VA called me back on some stuff and I had to take the phone call.
I hear you. I'm waiting for a call myself that I have to take. And they sang a renewed song. I bet you guys know I have a few thoughts on this one. You guys have probably thought about this a little bit. And they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth.
Okay. See, to me, this goes right back, and they sang a renewed song. That word renewed, it goes back to the renewed name of the Father and the Son. And this is, the 144,000s that have it written on their foreheads. They heard the voice out of heaven. They heard the voice of many waters. They heard the voice of loud thunder, and they heard the voice of the harpist. So these individuals follow the Lamb wherever he goes, and they know his name. They understand who he is, and they're set apart. They're first fruits because they have the renewed song.
I'm gonna move that picture along. Yeah, and we'll just look at it here in the Aramaic as well. Well, I think it's interesting here that it says, of course, that no one was able to learn the song, the hymn, but only the 144,000s. Those are the ones that are learning it. It doesn't mean they know it, but they're learning it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
And they have the name. Well, maybe that's because they can't learn the song unless they want to wear the name on their head. Maybe it's just a thought. So we know that they have the name on their head. In fact, 2 names, is according to the witness of the 1st century Peshitta. They have both names on their heads, and they are the only ones that are allowed to learn the name. I mean, to learn this hymn. And this one says, those who have not been defiled. Okay, sometimes the verses are a little bit they're off a verse or something. This here, okay, so this one's in verse 3. And they sang a hymn of praise before the throne and before the 4 beasts and before the elders, and not a man was able to learn the hymn. So they sang the song. They were not able to learn it, only the 144,000. This time it says 1,000. Earlier, it's up here, it said thousands. Redeemed from the earth. They're spelled the same way. So thousands. That's why I think it's the same word. We're just talking about 144,000 in our language and understanding. That's my take on it, but definitely research it to your own satisfaction and leading from the Father. These are those who with women not have been defiled virgins for they are these who cleave to the Lamb everywhere that he goes. They're cleaving. It reminds me so much of Teza saying, bind yourself tightly to the Father. Wherever he goes, these were redeemed from men, the first fruits to Elohim. This says aloha in Hebrew. I mean, in Aramaic, aloha. And to the Lamb.
See, I believe it is my personal belief that these are theologically pure women, and they're called virgins because they did not pollute, stain, contaminate, or defile themselves. It doesn't mean that they're virgins and never had sex, or they're not married, or they're men. But these are they who have not defiled. And that word defile is pollute, stain, contaminate, and defile. And those are they who have kept themselves pure from the defilement of sin, who have soiled themselves by fornication and adultery. So they haven't done those things. So they've kept themselves pure. And I want to say, Paul says that we are to die daily. It doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes, but we're first to forgive and to ask for repentance. And, that's why we have a new moon every month. It is for, starting over. If you've blown it, the previous month, or, did something, you have a new start.
Yes.
And so, they're not polluted, and they're not, full. They've kept themselves pure from the defilements of sin. So they're not contaminated. They're not full of stain. So they've been redeemed.
These are those who with women have not been defiled.
Yeah,
They
but
are,
that word women, that's a whole nother study. It means a woman of any age, whether a virgin or married or a widow, or even a betrothed woman.
yeah.
So, that word woman is a stumbling block. It could be a woman of any age.
So the point is that we look at it in the Hebrew, like, does it say women? Is there another meaning for it? So we're going to look at Nun, Sheen, Aleph, and I'm just going to read it because I don't have the clients up here online, but you guys can listen. This is in the Etymological Dictionary of the Hebrew Language for Readers of English by Ernest Klein. And so Nun, Sheen, Aleph, and we're on this word right here. Who with women. So this is a word not here. This is a word that is being translated by a translator as women. But let's see what all the meanings of Nun, Sheen, Aleph are. I'll read them off to you. You can check my work later. This is online, available for free. So that is a great resource. I'll see if Bonnie can get me the link for that, or somehow we'll work it out and put in the description. This is a valuable resource. And if you can get a hard copy, that's even better. Nun,
I'll
Sheen,
grab
Aleph.
it for you.
Thank you, Teza. I'll put it in after we finish the recording. So Nun, Sheen, Aleph means to lift, carry, and take. So we're talking about, it doesn't say men, it says these are those who with this, they have not been defiled. Okay, so with this thing we're reading about. So to lift, carry, take is one of the definitions. And it goes on from there. Post-biblical Hebrew is he married, contained, it contained. So it contained, have been defiled. So that could be a meaning of it. He swept away, destroyed. He forgave, pardoned. He suffered, endured. So far I haven't heard anything about a wife here, except for he married. Was lifted up, was raised, was exalted, was respected. This is very much about a lifting up and carrying or taking. Okay, this particular definition. He lifted himself up, he exalted himself. So these are men who did not, or these are those who did not exalt themselves. That is a logical translation there. He didn't exalt himself. He caused to bear, he caused to bring, he transported, he transferred, was lifted, was raised, was given in marriage. Okay, so that's sort of suggesting that given in marriage is a way of lifting oneself up. It's high, it's exalted. This is another definition of the word, a completely different, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, anyway, as if it's a second word. It's got different vowel points to it. Then there's nasha, to deceive, beguile. So this could be what word goes there. So these are those who have not been beguiled, have not been defiled. Those even kind of rhyme in English. So to deceive and to beguile, these are not those that deceive and beguile. Origin perhaps related to shua. Oh, emptiness, vanity. Well, we just looked at that in Exodus 20, verse 7, I think it was. Was deceived, was beguiled. He deceived, he beguiled. He imposed upon. And then it's to claim a debt. That's the third entry. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Father. Third entry of nasha, to claim a debt. And he claimed a debt. So there's a lot of things there. I really didn't hear the word woman. Did you guys? I heard something about being lifted up through marriage. But that was like sort of a far stretch. It was more about lifting oneself up or being high and exalted or being deceived and beguiled. So that's why I think that's not women there. And I knew that there was an issue here. I've heard so many men read about this. Oh, the men are virgins. You know, they haven't been deceived and defiled by women. Well, I would say that if you take that back to the original language, there's going to be a little bit more to that than women. I didn't see it myself. But then you might also check out this Bethula. They have not been defiled by Bethula. Am I reading that right? I don't have a total English translation right in front. I could pull it up. To make it easy to read, I'm just going to read it one more time. You know what? Let's go over here. You got it right here. So they are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. Oh, well, now they're not men defiled by women because they're women. You know? Okay, so now let's look at the word Bethula. We have to do that. We're here at this word Bethula. Bet, ta, wa, lamed, olive. The olive is going to be a prefix, I believe. I mean, a suffix. Bethula. That means the virgins. The virgins. But I'll go get the exact definition because we want to know, are these are those who have not been defiled by something because they are Bethula. This is very in line with what Gail was saying, I believe, but we're just proving it at the root language level. What is being said here? See if we've got the word in here. We should have. There it is. Okay, so Bethula, there's only one entry. Virgin. Post-biblical Hebrew says Virgo, but that is post-biblical Hebrew. Literally separated and severed. So it literally means separated and severed. That's what the word means. All right. Separated and severed. So we go back.
Darla, could that be a reference to first fruits? They're set apart. They're separated.
Well, they're definitely separated, and it's going to tell us their first fruits right here, I believe, but we'll go on. But it says they are those who have not lifted themselves up. They have not been defiled by lifting themselves up, for they are separated and severed. That is an absolute great translation of this verse. We can't just rely on the translators, right? That makes more sense from what we know from the scriptures. Then, they're just women wasn't even one of the words for that noon sheen olive that we looked at there. It was not even a definition for the word. It was more about deceiving, being deceived. but they are separated and severed. That's what it says the literal meaning of Bethula is. So when we look up in the heavens and we see the one that's called Virgo, the Virgin, and we see that maybe at a certain time of the year, or we see the sign of Revelation 12:17, Revelation 12 in 2017, I meant to say, we can be, instead of seeing, oh, there's the Virgin, we could be seeing that sign means separated, severed. What are we separating? Does anybody feel separated and severed in this lifetime? Set apart, you don't fit in,
Yes.
that thing.
Yeah, good connection with Betula.
It's so
Good
it's
connection there.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's the Virgin in the constellation, but it's the bride.
Yeah. And a bride is separated out
Mhm.
to her groom. And the groom's supposed
When
to be
you thi-
separated out to his bride as well, of course.
When you think of all the women that they talk about in the book of Revelation, you've got the bride, you've got the whoring. There's a distinction between the two, those who follow the Lamb and those who don't.
And
Exactly.
Betula has the characteristics. It's her character that is associated with those first fruits and those set apart that are not defiled.
Yeah, literally separated, severed. See, I have to write, I don't have time right now, but I need to go back in my scriptures and say, this is what, when I looked it out, this is what it was. I have to go with what the words really mean, as opposed to what the translators tell us, because when these things were translated long ago, and this translation, like, well, where did he get this? Did he get it from looking at another translation? Likely.
Could maiden mean innocent? Because a maiden is a young child.
It does
Could
mean virgin.
they're innocent.
Yeah, it's a virgin. It does say virgin, but it also says literally it means separated and severed. So a child, it goes on to say, okay, here's another one related to Aramaic Syriac, Bethula, just spelled the same way, Betal Wa Lamed Aleph, chaste young man. But it also means virgin. So it could be a chaste young man, and it can also mean a virgin. So these are people that are separated.
Yes, it can mean both. Absolutely.
Yeah. It doesn't say one or it could be either one of those things, but these are separated, severed from the ways of the world kinds of people.
Right.
That's what I think it means. Okay, so it says they are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men. Okay, so they were redeemed. So they're not sinless human beings. We don't have those except for Yahushua. They were redeemed from among men, and their first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. They were redeemed. Here's the word. Ayin Zion Dalet Bet Nun Wa. Ayin Zion Dalet Bet is going to be the root word. I'm sorry, it's an Aleph. Y'all aren't catching me on stuff. Aleph. Aleph Zion. I was looking at the Aleph, but Ayin came out of my mouth. Aleph. We just talked about the Aleph and the Ayin. I think that the Father is, as Bonnie says, it's a serendipity moment. That Aleph and Ayin are coming back into play. That we were talking about vain emptiness from Exodus 20, verse 7. Aleph Zion. Get my little
Verse
magnet.
4, when you mention they've been redeemed, in another version it says from mankind.
Yeah.
Some say men, others say mankind.
Well, look, we've got that noon sheen olive there again that we just looked up for virgin, except for this time it's with an olive prefix. Or it doesn't have to be a prefix, but it has an olive there at the beginning, right? But it's just, otherwise it's the same word. It's that in other words, you can believe that the purity and the separation is part of that word. I don't think that's going to be a whole lot different. I will look it up real quick. Olive, noon, sheen, olive. It doesn't have to be a prefix. It can just be part of the word. But it definitely has the other word in it. You can see that. Olive, noon, sheen. Okay, olive, noon, sheen means to humanize, by the way. It also means, this is just the first 3 letters of that word. It also means to be weak, to be sick, to humanize. And they do not have in this one the olive, noon, sheen, olive. Unless it's here in a sort of a just an add-on where they show you the different forms of the word that they use, and I don't see it at all. Olive, noon, sheen means to become womanly. So these are virgins, for they are these who cleave to the Lamb everywhere that he goes. These were redeemed from. So you could say, at least in this dictionary, you could say the olive, noon, sheen is talking about the weakness. They've been redeemed from the weakness, but it also mentions became womanly. But that could also be in the sense of weakness. A woman is weaker than a man physically. And then, so the other word that we were looking at here was redeemed, and that's Aleph Zayin Dalet. I'm just seeing if that word is here. Aleph Zayin Dalet Bet. This is when it's really great to have some extra help online with some of the pages and stuff, because my eyes are a little bit challenged with these little tiny letters these days. I think I'm due for a little correction. Yeah, I don't see Aleph Zayin Dalet. Aleph Zayin Dalet Bet. Don't see it in this one. All right, so we'll move on anyway. That is another word that could be checked out in another Aramaic, just to see what it says for this redeemed. They were redeemed. I will actually write it down and look it up, and I will put something in the description. Aleph Zayin Dalet Et, and then Nunwa is a suffix. Okay. Verse 5. In their mouths. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about in verse 4? Do you guys ever feel like first fruits in the sense that somehow, somewhere, by Yahuwah's favor, he woke us up? I think, Gail, you said it was long before 2009 for you, but many of us, it was 2009. We went a completely different. We're supposed to keep Torah. We're part of the 12 tribes. His name is not even in his word. Well, anyway, there are many that have been woken up to those understandings. For in their mouths not is found falsehood. Okay. So what else can we know about these 144,000s? In their mouths is not found falsehood. Interesting word here, Dugalut. So Dugaluta, and I'm not using any vowel points because I don't see any here. But the Dalet is a prefix in Aramaic of falsehood. So we've got galut. Does galut sound like any word to you guys? Galuta? Galuta. Galuta. You guys still there?
I'm here, sister. I'm here.
Thank you. We had a big earthquake this morning, and I just want to sometimes I'm just talking to myself and y'all are like, where did Darla go?
No, I can
Galuta.
hear you.
Does that sound familiar to you, Teza?
No, it doesn't, sister. It doesn't, I'm afraid.
Galuta is our English word for Galatians.
Ah, okay, yes.
Whenever you see a Gimel Lamed, let's see if I have, do I have some sort of an annotate here? I do. I'm not the best at all of this Zoomy stuff. Let's try this Galuta so I can show you guys where we're looking. Galuta right here. Okay. Falsehood, it says here, but this is the word that we have for Galatians. Okay, so whenever you see this Gimel Lamed right here, these two letters right here, that's like those two in a Paleo Hebrew version, they make a ball shape. So one turns one way, kind of like a shepherd's staff. And if you can imagine the other one kind of coming down and scooping around, you could make this shape with your arms. If you just bring one hand over and kind of curve it, maybe up by in front of your face, and you take your other here. You know what? I can put this on camera, by the way. I get lost in what I'm doing. Okay, so you can go like this. This can make like a Gimel, although I don't know on camera if it's backwards or not. And then this hand comes up under and makes like, so you got a shape like this, kind of like a ball. That's a Gimel and a Lamed in Paleo Hebrew. And it means what goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. And it also, this word means exiles. So I'm going to prove that to you guys. Tell you, these eyes have just really gotten challenged, but it's hard for me to get these little letters out. But galut. Here we go. Exile. I just told you it's Gimel Lamed Wa Ta Aleph. Exile. Okay. So this is translated into falsehood, but this is also the word exile. Let me see if I see falsehood here as well. So I have exile, captivity, banishment. Has anybody ever learned that you're living in captivity? Did it
Yes.
dawn on you at some point in the last 30 years? We're in
Yes.
captivity. Yeah. Okay, so then we have galuti with a yod suffix. It says exilic, exile-like, and ghetto-like. Interesting. Galuti. Galutio, nature of the diaspora. That's being cast out of the land of Israel. That's what diaspora means. Okay, and it also says ghetto nature. Wow. So yeah. So in their mouths is not found this falsehood, which leads to, now I don't see the word falsehood here. I see exile. So I would say check that one out because I don't see it here. Exile. There's not found in their mouths exile or captivity or banishment. Maybe there's a link to what we say out of our mouth forces us into banishment. Without
Yes.
interest. Yeah. Without fault. They are without fault. So see, we're just putting it together piece by piece and pulling a couple of words to go look at. So this letter here, this pay, this Hebrew letter means a mouth. And it kind of, this is basically the modern Hebrew as opposed to the Paleo or the biblical Hebrew, they call it as well. In this shape of this form, this letter, it's not really too different in the Paleo, but it's a little bit different. This little letter looks like, if I can, I don't know if I can, I'm going to lose this one. Let's see. Where's my little eraser?
You're looking at the Gimel or the Lamed?
I'm looking at the pay.
Oh, okay, the pay this thing.
Okay, I'm going to erase these real quick. Because they'll just get lost in the translation here. Back to this guy. Okay, so let's look at this pay. It's just to know that the letter, if I can make the screen bigger. This letter here, it kind of looks like, if you could imagine a man sitting and maybe not sitting up straight, but slumped over a little. And then this little part here is his head. Or, this could be a shape of a whole man, but we're focusing on the mouth. So if this is the head, this is the mouth, this open part. So stuff goes in, right? That's the point. It's a mouth. And stuff comes out the mouth as well.
Can you see that, Darla?
There we go. Yes, that's the paleo. Thank you, Teza. If you want to talk, Tez, I think the camera will go to, well, maybe not because we're sharing a screen right now, but yeah, that's the paleo pay. And it has like a mouth. It has an entrance where stuff goes in and out of there.
What I
But
like about it is this one here too. Can you see that there? How if you put it
yes,
up the front there, the pay, they've got it near the ear. So when you've got the pay there, it's like, okay, it's part of the mouth. And when you talk with your mouth, aren't you supposed to hear? So
very lovely. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's exactly what I was talking about. So I'm really glad that you had a I apologize. My I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's super blown out color wise. It didn't expect that to happen, but I'm just going to turn the camera off and go back to screen share and not worry about that right now. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
So
when
we
you
look,
talk about no deceit in their mouths,
yeah.
it just reminds me of Malachi 2:6, where it says with the truth was in his mouth, and injustice was not found on his lips. In peace he walked, in shalom he walked, and uprightness is in, and he turned many back from iniquity. There's just so many scriptures that you can go back to.
Yeah, have you guys ever heard, I've heard before that if you steal something that there is a blindness that's attached to stealing. I guess if you can't see it, you wouldn't steal it, right? So there's a blindness attached to stealing. We've heard that there is, of course, in the scripture with Moses or Moshe's sister who got leprosy because she was complaining against her brother. So it is that if you have an evil tongue about somebody, that leprosy is a curse that it attaches to that. We may have been removed for a while from these things, but they seem like they have a connection. And right here, I would say that here, this connection, if this definition pans out at all, which I don't see here in this dictionary, that it would be attached to exile. We also know that idolatry was attached to exile. They were exiled because of their idolatry.
When you're talking about the prior, what the eyes can't see, the heart can't grieve.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So Lashon Hara,
Exactly.
falsehood is not found in their mouths. Yeah. I like what you said earlier about not going into captivity. There's three destinies. There's death. No, wait. Yeah. Death, let's see. Death, captivity, and deliverance. Death,
Yeah.
There's three. Yeah. And when you get down farther, and it talks about the wine presses, it is also a correlation to the feast days because barley, you just have to just kind of rub it together and it's there. Then you've got the wheat harvest, which you have to thresh it, and then you've got the grape harvest, which you have to crush it, and that's where the blood comes out. And people's characteristics are associated with that also.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do talk about further on. It is the wine press.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the barley harvest or the wheat harvest. It's actually the wine press, the grape harvest.
Okay, so yeah, and this is another word, gear, fault. They are without fault, gear. So we kind of know gear as a foreigner, right? That ties the foreigner to fault, but let me look up Gimel Yod Resh real quick. I'm already in Gimel because I was looking up Galut. Gear. Gimel Yod Resh. Okay, so interesting. It says there's lime and chalk. Plaster would be Aramaic with a olive suffix, but that's not there. And it's to convert to Judaism. And that's all I see in this definition, this dictionary for this fault word. So that's another word that could be looked up, y'all. Gear. And it's translated fault. Maybe I'm doing the wrong word. Without is Dala and fault is moom. Sorry about that. Let's look up moom then. Moom. Memoir mem. It could be mom. I don't have vowel points here, so I can't tell on this translation. Sorry, y'all. I'm learning Hebrew right along with everybody else. I pray for a download all the time because I think it's so important for us to know the language. To embrace the language and desire the language is very important to me. Moom. Okay, so here we go. We found it. Okay, so here's the clarification on that. Moom is a blemish, defect, fault. And it says original meaning probably was point, whence developed the meaning dot or a speck. Ooh, a dot or a speck. That's pretty tiny. And it means to become deformed. So I guess it's a dot or a speck that grows. Blemish, defect, fault. To become deformed. That's what that word fault means. Starts as a speck, it looks like. So just a little speck, just a little thing. Okay. So then we have verse 6. I need to pull out my scripture over here so I can, nope, never mind. We'll go over here. Let's go back and look at number 6 in straight up English. And I saw another messenger flying in mid-heaven, holding the everlasting Tob news to announce to those dwelling on the earth, even to every nation and tribe and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven and the earth and sea and fountains of water. So when I read over this a couple of weeks ago and I wanted to study it, this jumped out at me. Because we have a messenger, aka an angel, flying in mid-heaven. He's holding the Tob news to announce to those dwelling on the earth, everybody, even to every nation and tribe and tongue and people. He's saying it with a loud voice. Fear Elohim and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven and the earth and sea and fountains of the water. All of that happens before the mark of the beast.
I noticed the same thing when I was reading through it.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. It
It's
is
not gonna
really
stay
huge. It's like
but
it's like that just right before the last moment.
yeah,
Right before the last moment. He doesn't want anyone to perish.
exactly. This is not the the deity with the big stomp gavel. No, he's making every possible plea to call the people. Everybody, loud voice, middle of heaven. You're not going to miss it. Wonder what this means. He's holding the everlasting. Is he just holding the scriptures? What do you guys think?
I think it's the scriptures, because when you look at when you go back and look at, okay, what is the message? What's the eternal message?
Yeah.
And it's the word of Yahuwah, the everlasting. And it is firmly fixed in the heavens. And I think that says in Psalm 119.
Yeah, the Tob News. Let's look at this word, Samik Bet Resh Ta. So we can think of what it is, but let's find out what it is.
Okay.
Samik Bet Resh, because then we'll know for sure. Samik Ayin Pei. You got to remember how these letters go. And then I'm going backwards, of course. Flipping backwards here. Samik Bet Resh Ta Aleph. Anything stand out there in those letters to you guys?
Can you underline it? I can just see it.
I can totally do that. Let's do it because that's a great point. Let's underline it so we all know what we're talking about, and you can find it on the page. This word right here.
That's
You guys see anything about that word?
You've got your aleph and tav aleph at the end.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Turning that aleph tav backwards. So the aleph in Arabic is the same as our hey in Hebrew. It's the word the. It's a prefix. It's a suffix here, but in Hebrew it's a prefix hey. But in Aramaic it's an aleph suffix. So that's the. So now we just got to deal with the Samik Bet Resh Ta. What do you think about Bet Resh Ta?
Isn't it in Bereshit, the beginning?
Well, they are letters in Bereshit in the beginning. They are definitely, so the Tob News there is definitely in the first word, Bereshit, except for we don't have the Samik there. But Bet Resh Ta also looks to me like Brit, which is covenant, which is Bet Resh Yod Ta.
Yeah.
So it's very implied there. It's very meant.
Yes.
It's like you have. Okay, so Samik Bet Resh. There's a word here, Samik Bet Resh, which means to think, be of opinion. Interesting. Hope and trust and countenance and appearance. So this messenger did appear to them, by the way. And he's bringing this Tob News, and he's got it with him. And had with him. So that first word means appearance, the first part of that word. All right, so now Samik Bet Resh Ta. Samik Bet Resh Aleph, by the way, is logical argument. And Samik Bet, I'm looking to see if there's a Samik Bet Resh Ta. Yes, there's a Samik Bet Resh Ta Yod, conjectural and hypothetical. So interesting. That might also need a little bit more research on it. There's a Samik Bet Resh Yod, which means with your permission. Aramaic literally is what do you think? What is your opinion? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So this is not normally the word we would think of as Besora, but some of those letters are there. I think Besora is with a sheen, which is what we call in Hebrew or Aramaic, we would call the New Testament or the Tob News, Besora. But this is Sebereta. This is with the Samik. Sometimes the sheen and the Samik are exchanged in Hebrew words, for instance, maybe Aramaic as well. But that's a really cool word about what's your opinion. What do you think about this? You have to make a decision now. That really, I think, is implied there. It's time to make your decision. Because the next thing we have coming up here is we're going to have the mark of the beast here. And so let's go look at that real quick. Get off of my eraser. Here we go. So he's saying this with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him. So there's judgment happening. Worship him who made the heaven and the earth and sea and fountains of water. And another messenger followed him, saying, Babel is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. Then a third messenger, not
Wait,
one, not
hey,
three.
hey, Darla, before you
Yeah.
go on to the next one, in verse 8, Babel is fallen, that great city. Go to Isaiah 21.
Okay. Got another window here. Isaiah 21. Let's get back into ISR. I've got my little bar. I got to move here. Okay. Isaiah
21:9.
21, verse 9. Maybe I'll start in verse 8. Then he cried, A lion, O Yahuwah! I stand continually on the watchtower in the daytime, and I have set at my post every night, and see this, a chariot of men coming with a pair of horsemen. And he spoke up and said, Babel is fallen, and all the carved images of her mighty ones he has broken to the ground. And then he says, all my threshing and the grain of my floor, that which I have heard from Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharel, I declared to you.
Yeah.
Isaiah 21, starting with verse 1. Because these are the oracles concerning Babylon, Edom, and Arabia. And it's all right there. And, you know, Babylon has many, many daughters, but there's only one mother. And so Isaiah 21, starting with verse 1, addresses the mother.
Do you want to read it, Gail?
And it's the oracles concerning Babylon, Edom, and Arabia. What?
Did you want to read it?
Do I want to read it? Sure, I can read it.
Okay.
Let me go there. All right, let's see. Do you want me to read your version there? Okay, let me see here. Isaiah 21.
Okay.
Okay. The message concerning the wilderness of the sea, as a whirlwind in the south sweeps on, so it comes from the wilderness. Okay, this is a place of wilderness. It's a desolation, and it's by the sea. So there is a location. So when you read Isaiah 21, you have to know that it is giving you clues. Okay, because you have so many churches, so many pastors, so many people with their own take on it. Back in 2014, I said, all right, I'm putting this on the altar. I said, I am not going to, Daniel, Revelation, Father, you're going to have to take me and show me your truth on it. For 2 months, he started showing me things that blew my mind. And when I came out of that 2 months, I was a changed person. So I'm not the only one that believes this. So this is not a Gail thing. So there are many before me that have seen the same thing. So this is a message concerning the wilderness. So this is a location. It's a wilderness. It's a desert. It's by the sea. So a distressed vision is revealed to me. The treachery betrays, and the ravager ravages. Go up, Elam, besiege, O Media. All the groanings I bring to an end. So there again, Elam and Media. Those are another clues. Therefore, my loins are filled with anguish. Pains have seized me like the pangs of a woman in labor. I was distressed when I heard it. I was troubled when I saw it. So you have the labor pains. Doesn't that talk about it in Revelation somewhere? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Or in Daniel. I can't remember.
Matthew 24, I thought it was.
Okay, it could be
About the
there
woman,
too.
woman in labor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And my heart reeled with horror, overwhelmed me. The night for which I longed, he turned into fear for me. Prepare the table, spread the meat or the mat. You know, spread the mat. They do that in the Middle East. That's how they eat. They have a little tablecloth that they sit on the floor and they spread the table and they eat and drink. Arise, you princes. Okay, there you go. A prince, another clue. Anointed the shield. For Jehovah has said to this to me, go, set a watchman, let him declare what he sees. And I saw a chariot with a pair of horsemen, a chariot of donkeys, a chariot of camels. Where do we see that kind of animals? We don't see camels in New York City.
Right.
And we don't, I mean, we don't, and we don't see horsemen. So there's a distinction between the daughter and the mother, and this is talking about the mother. And then he cried, O lion, O Jehovah, I stand continually on the watchtower in the daytime, and I have sat at my post every night. And see this, a chariot of men coming with a pair of horsemen. And he spoke up and said, Babel is fallen, and all the carved images of her mighty ones he has broken to the ground. So these carved images in Babel, that's my phone ringing. I'll get that later. You're going to have to let it ring for a minute here. I'm sorry. Anyways, Babel, okay. And he spoke, and Babel is fallen, and all the carved images. Okay. In the Middle East, specifically a country is, they believe that an asteroid came down, and that's what their sins are forgiven, and that's where they go around the cube and worship. And it is a horrible idol. Okay, so there's a carved image of her mighty ones. He has broken to the ground. Oh, my threshing and the grain of my floor, that which I have heard from Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, I have declared to you the message concerning Duma. Where is Duma? That's another clue. Look up on the map. Do a search. Where is Duma? He calls me to Mount Seir. Where's Mount Seir? It's not in Rome. This is a message concerning Duma. Where's Duma? Duma's not in Rome. Rome is a daughter. Rome is a player, no doubt. Watchman, how much of the night is past? Watchman, how much of the night is past? The watchman said, morning came and also night. If you inquire, come again. The message concerning Arabia. Aha, another clue. In the forest of Arabia, you say, you traveling companies of Daganites. That's, right back where it is Duma. You got Duma. You've got Seir. You've got Dagan. And then they call them ites. But and those who dwell in the land of Tema. Where is Tema? That is another clue of Babylon. Where is it? The Father is restoring this. This is not mumble jumble. This is not some man's. Let's take scripture for what it is saying. Who dwells in the land of Tema? Bring water to him who is thirsty. Meet the fugitive with bread, for they flee from the swords. Where are the swords at? Who has swords on the earth? From the drawn sword, from the bent bow, from the stress of battle. Thus says Jehovah, has said to me, within a year, according to the year of a hired man, all esteem Kedar shall come to an end. And the rest of the number of the archers and the mighty men of people of Kedar shall be few. For Jehovah Elohim Israel has spoken. So Isaiah 21 goes along with Revelation and Daniel.
Okay, let's go back to Revelation 14 then.
I mean, this can be a really fascinating and exciting study. So, I mean, it can take a long time, and I've only got a little bit more time before they get home here.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we've had three messengers. The one that is got the Tob news to announce to those dwelling the earth, saying, "Fear Elohim and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven and the earth, and sea and fountains of water." Just imagine people seeing these Malachim, these messengers from heaven. Another messenger followed, saying, "Babel is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her whoring." The third messenger followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark upon his forehead or upon his hand, he also shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out undiluted." Wow. Poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath. "And he shall be tortured with fire and sulfur before the Kodesh messengers and before the Lamb. And the smoke of their torture goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, those worshiping the beast in his image. Also, if anyone receives the mark of his name." So this is not going to sneak up on anybody with a jibby jab. This is not going to sneak up on anybody, because there's got to be 3 Malachim that everybody is going to see. That's how I was receiving this. And they are going to be warned. There's nobody that's going to accidentally seal their fate by taking the mark of his name without being told directly, "Do not take it, because you're going to participate in this torture." And they have no rest day or night, those worshiping the beast in his image. Also, if anyone receives the mark of his name. There's a lot of people getting close to worshiping the beast in his image, but they're gonna get a big announcement about that. They're gonna have to turn their way, so it's better to turn your ways now. Here is the endurance of the Kodesh ones, those that separated. Right, we were talking about those that are separated up in verse 6, I think 5 or 6. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yahushua. So now we're told who the set apart ones are. They're those guarding the commands of Elohim. They're guarding them. And the belief of Yahushua. They're guarding these things.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think that a loving, kind Elohim would do this. But see, a lot of people forget what ended up happening with Sodom and Gomorrah. If you go back the wrath, I'm just thinking in verse 10 and 11. People just think, okay, then he's going to be forever merciful. But it gets to the point that when that cup is full, there has to be a time. And it's going to be undiluted.
I really think we turned a point about give or take 3 years ago. I
Yeah.
just felt my ruach. It's like we are never going back to what it was. We're about to move forward with this. We're moving forward. And a lot of us have prayed. Let's get it on. Let's just do it. Let's get there. We
Yeah.
want to see the righteousness prevail on this earth. We want to
Well,
see
doesn't
your
it
sovereign reign come. But
say in the book of Jeremiah, um, take from my hand this cup of wine of wrath, and make all the nations to whom I send to you drink from it?
if you want to find the scripture, I'll pull it up.
Jeremiah 25.
Well, moreover, Yahuwah has sent to you all his servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, but you have not listened nor inclined your ear to hear, saying, turn back now, everyone, from his evil way and from the evil of your deeds, and dwell on the soil which Yahuwah has given to you and your fathers forever and ever. And do not go after other mighty ones to serve them and to bow down to them, and do not provoke me with the works of your hands, so that I do to you no evil. Yeah, this is just a completely different picture than the one of, oh, he's just, so forgiving. We don't have to do anything. We just have to mentally believe, and then we can live like the devil. That's not this picture here. Do not provoke me with the works of your hands, so that I do you no evil. But you did not listen to me, declares Yahuwah, so as to provoke me with the works of your hands for your own evil. There's a scripture in here that says, evil pursues wickedness. What is evil's job? It pursues wickedness. That's its daytime job and its nighttime job. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, because you did not obey my word, see, I'm sending and taking all the tribes of the north, declares Yahuwah, and Nebuchadrezzar, the sovereign of Babel, my servant, and shall bring them against this land and against its inhabitants and against these nations all around, and shall put them under the ban and make them an astonishment and a hissing and everlasting ruins. And I shall banish from them. That's the word banish that showed up earlier with the galut word. I shall banish the voice of rejoicing and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones and the light of the lamp. So all the working things. And all this land shall be a ruin and a waste, and these nations shall serve the sovereign of Babel 70 years. So we're talking about Judah going into captivity into Babylon.
Yeah.
And
it says
also
down there
captivity.
in verse 15 as well. It says about the cup.
For thus said Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel to me, take this wine cup of wrath from my hand and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. Wow.
Yeah.
I fully believe that my ancestors were in Israel and were guilty of this idolatry that got them kicked out of the land. There is speak of the 2,730 curse, and that ended in 2009. So the people that are cast out of that land, their descendants are in all the nations now.
Yes.
And they shall drink and shake and go mad because of the sword that I am sending among them. Oh, that really hits close to the States, I got to tell you.
It does.
The writing is super on the wall here. Super on the wall. If anybody's paying attention.
Yeah, when you know how it said just back over, when Babylon is fallen, it's fallen. It's imminent. It's coming.
Yeah. It's very coming. And I think from more than one front. I think there is a military might that will come against us, and I think there is a a medical tear to the Randy.
And there's
Coming.
also the signs in the heavens.
Yeah, and war in the heavens.
Mm.
Goes on to say in verse 17, I then took the cup from the hand of Yahuwah and made all the nations drink to whom Yahuwah had sent me, namely Jerusalem and the cities of Yehuda and its sovereigns, its heads, to make them a ruin, an object of astonishment, a hissing and a curse as it is this day. And then Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and his servants and his heads and all his people, all the mixed multitude, that's like everybody, and all the sovereigns of the land of Uts, and all the sovereigns of the land of the Philistines, even Ashkelon and Azza and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod. Goes on with Edom and Moab. It goes on. Here's your Dedan and Tuma that we were reading about in Isaiah chapter 21.
Yeah.
All the sovereigns of Arabia, all the sovereigns of the mixed multitude who dwell in the wilderness. On and on. All the sovereigns of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the reigns of the earth. In case anybody else got left out, all the reigns of the earth, which are on the face of the ground. And then verse 27, and you shall say to them, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, Yahuwah Zabaoth, the Elohim of Yasharel, drink and be drunk and vomit. Fall and rise no more. Oops. Fall and rise no more. Because of the sword which I am sending among you. And it shall be when they refuse to take the cup from your hand to drink, then you shall say to them, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, you shall drink. For look,
Yeah.
I am beginning to bring evil upon the city which is called by my name, and shall you be entirely unpunished. You are not going unpunished, for I am calling for a sword on all the inhabitants of the earth. Oh, declares Yahuwah Zabaoth. And you shall prophesy against them all these words and say to them, Yahuwah roars from on high and utters his voice from his Kodesh dwelling place. He roars mightily over his fold, a shout as those who tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. Tumult shall come to the ends of the earth, for Yahuwah has a controversy with the nations. Should I get this highlighted? Yahuwah has a controversy with the nations. He shall enter into judgment all flesh. So there's a court case going on. He shall enter into judgment all flesh. The wrong he shall give to the sword, declares Yahuwah. He's going to give the wrong to the sword.
When you read that, the wrong he shall give to the sword. And who declares it? The creator of the heavens and the earth.
You know, we talk about, you just talked about there's a trial, the controversy going on. And you see a lot of them say that the two witnesses are going to witness about love and whatever, but all this stuff comes out of their mouths.
Yeah.
They're the witnesses for a reason, because there is a trial going on. And when you go past that passage in Revelations, I think it's chapter 11 or 12, there's a right ruling given. And that's where Yeshua is being given the rulership or the authority over the earth. And then after that, you see the nations are wrought and they seek to make war with Abba for doing it. So it's the nations that instigate because they don't like the right ruling and they're wroth with it. They instigate their own judgment because they rebel against Abba.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're given the desires of their heart.
Yes.
This is such an amazing picture here. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, see, evil is going forth from nation to nation. Just getting a picture of that. Wow. And a great whirlwind is raised up from the farthest parts of the earth. And in that day, the slain of Yahuwah shall be from one end of the earth, even to the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented or gathered or buried, for they are dung on the face of the ground. Howl, you shepherds, and cry, and roll yourselves in the ashes, you leaders of the flock. For the days of your slaughter and your scatterings are completed, and you shall fall like a choice vessel. And a place of refuge shall perish from the shepherds and escape from the leaders of the flock. Hear the cry of the shepherds and a wailing of the leaders of the flock, for Yahuwah is ravaging their pasture. And the pastures of peace shall be cut down because of the burning displeasure of Yahuwah. Like a lion, he shall leave his hiding place, for their land shall become a waste because of the sword of oppressors and because of his burning displeasure. Oh, so you got the sword of the oppressors and his burning displeasure.
Yeah. Don't leave much without him. It gives you all the images. You just have to sit back and go, wow. And it's going to happen.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to be invisible at this point. Like a lion, he shall leave his hiding place. Might not see a visual of him, but you'll know he's there.
Yeah. It's like
And
when I ended up reading, I think it was Isaiah 63:3, when he said, I trod this by myself. And it was just like, he's doing this by himself. He comes by himself. He trods the winepress.
yeah, I
63:3.
don't remember him talking too much about good shepherds. You know, when he talks about the shepherds, it's always like, you wicked shepherds. Like, I gotta come do this myself. Yeah. Who is this coming from Edom, who with garments of glowing colors from Botsra, who is robed in splendor, striding forward in the greatness of his strength? It is I who speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Why is there red on your raiment and your garments like one who treads in the winepress? I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples no one was with me. No one was with him.
No.
And I trod them down in my displeasure, and I trampled them in my wrath. Their blood is sprinkled upon my garments, and I have defiled all my raiment. For a day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed has come. So there's vengeance, and then there's his redeemed.
Yep. But he goes forth to get rid of the wicked beforehand. He does this. And like when you sit back and you think, okay, this is because everything's been done away with. It hasn't. It really hasn't.
It hasn't.
Read his word for yourself. Don't listen to those that are out there. And when they give you a passage of this, go and check it out. Read the verses before and after it. Read the whole lot. Read it for yourself. Don't let your ears be tickled. This is serious. This is going to happen.
Well, let's just keep going. Verse 5, and I looked, but there was none helping, and I was astonished that there was none upholding. So my own arm saved for me, and my wrath upheld me. And I trod down peoples in my displeasure, and made them drunk in my wrath, and brought down their strength to earth. Let me recount the kindnesses of Yahuwah. So we go right into the kindnesses now. Let me recount the kindnesses of Yahuwah and the praises of Yahuwah, according to all that Yahuwah has done for us, and the great tobness toward the house of Yasharel, which he has done for them, according to his compassion and according to his many kindnesses. And he said, they are my people, children who do not act falsely. So there again, we've got that don't act falsely. They don't act falsely. And he became their savior. In all their distress, he was distressed, and the messenger of his presence saved them. In his love and in his compassion, he redeemed them, and he lifted them up and carried them all the days of old. But they rebelled and grieved his Kodesh spirit. So he turned against them as an enemy, and he fought against them. Then he remembered the days of old, Moshe, his people. Where is he who brought them up out of the sea, and with the shepherd of his flock? Where is he who put his Kodesh spirit within him, who led them by the right hand of Moshe with his comely arm, dividing the water before them, to make for himself an everlasting name? Oh, something about his name right here. He's making for himself. Why did he do this? To make for himself an everlasting name. Who led them through the deep? Like a horse in the wilderness, they did not stumble. As a beast goes down into the valley, and the spirit of Yahuwah causes him to rest, so you led your people to make yourself a comely name. He led them to make himself a comely name. Look down from the heavens and see from your Kodesh and comely dwelling, where your ardor and your might, the stirring of your inward parts and your compassion toward me, are they withheld? For you are our father, though Abraham does not know us and Yasharel does not recognize us. You, O Yahuwah, are our father, our redeemer. Your name is from of old. O Yahuwah, why do you
Hallelujah.
stray from your ways? Why do you make us stray from your ways and harden our heart from your fear? This is so interesting. It's like blaming him. Turn back for the sake of your servants, the tribes of your inheritance. Turn us back to you. For a little while, your Kodesh people possessed it. Our adversaries have trodden down your Kodesh place. We have become like those over whom you never ruled. Isn't this the truth?
Yeah.
Your name is not called on them. Wow.
Yeah.
We could just sit and look at that page for a while, but we're going to move on. Okay, so
It's a study in itself, that page.
right. So this is where we got off on that, is here is the endurance of his Kodesh ones. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yahushua. This is in the New Testament. This is in the book of Revelation. Guard the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yahushua. I'm going to show you two more places real quick. We've got 12, 17. This is the Revelation 12 sign. Many people believe that this sign was seen in September. Was it September? It was September 2017. Right. Verse 17. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Yahushua Messiah. That's two parts. I'll show you one more thing. Isaiah, I'm not in Isaiah yet. Isaiah 8, verse 14. All right, I'm going to start here. Verse 9. Be shattered, O you peoples, and be broken in pieces. Give ear, all you from the far places of the earth. Gird yourselves, but be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, but be broke. Be humble. Be humble. Be penitent. Take counsel, and it comes to naught. Speak a word, and it does not stand, for El is with us. For Yahuwah spoke thus to me with a strong hand and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people. Set apart, set apart. I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, do not say a conspiracy concerning all that this people call a conspiracy, nor be afraid of their threats, nor be troubled. Don't be troubled. Yahuwah Zabaoth, him you shall set apart. Him you shall kadosh, sanctify. Let him be your fear and let him be your dread. Not all the stuff that we see that's coming and that people are afraid of. And he shall be for a Kodesh place, but a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling. Another translation says a rock of offense. But this rock he makes for falling to both the houses of Yasharel. If you don't know who the two houses of Yasharel are, you need to do a big study on that. And I would do it through Identity Crisis on this channel, for instance. He's a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling, or a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, as a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and snared and taken. Bind up the witness, seal the Torah among my taught ones. Where's the Torah? It's sealed among his taught ones.
Yeah.
And I shall wait on Yahuwah, who hides his face from the house of Jacob. And I shall look for him. Are we looking for him? He says, when you seek me with all your heart, you will find me.
And he's standing at the door waiting for us to
Open
answer it.
Yeah. Look, I and the children whom Yahuwah has given me, for signs and wonders in Yasharel from Yahuwah Zabaoth, who dwells in Mount Zion. And when they say to you, seek those who are mediums and wizards, who whisper and mutter, should not a people seek their Elohim? People
Yes.
go into ears and seances and spirit filled people. I mean evil spirit filled people. Yeah, that's just not, this is what this is addressing right here. Don't go to mediums and wizards and people that channel spirits. You seek you seek Yahuwah. Should they seek the dead on behalf of the living? So this was happening back then. This wasn't what it
Well,
happened.
it happened with King Saul. He
Yes,
did it.
he did do it. But this says to the witness, to the Torah and the witness. What Torah, what witness? Well, those are the commands we just read about in Revelation. Commands and the
Yeah.
witness of Yahushua. If they do not speak according to this word, it is because they have no daybreak. And they shall pass through it hard pressed and hungry. And it shall be when they are hungry, they shall be wroth and curse their sovereign and their Elohim, looking upward. They're going to curse him. And they
Yeah.
shall look to the earth and see distress and darkness, gloom of hard times, and be driven into thick darkness.
Thick darkness. Yeah. That's thick darkness. And
Yes.
Yochanan 2:3 also, he says, by this we can be sure that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. And that's the witness, you know. It's the same thing. Those who keep my commandments, the Torah of Yahuwah, and believe in Yeshua, if you know him. Chapter 3, verse 3 there.
Sorry, verse 3.
No,
Am I
no,
chapter?
go over to 2.
There we
Yeah.
go. There, it's on the wrong chapter. And by this, we know that we know him if we guard his commands. And he says, the one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever guards his word, truly the love of Elohim has been perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him.
And when you, just that verse 4 there, when it says, if who do not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him, doesn't it say in the book of Revelation that all liars, thieves, etc. will see the lake of fire?
Yeah, we're going to go over there next. That was the third example I was going to show was, I think it's going to be in Revelation 22:14 is I'm thinking of. Yes. Baruch are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and all who love and do falsehood. And it also says, for I witness to everyone hearing the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, Elohim shall add to him the plagues that are written in this book. And that might be something as simple as he doesn't care what we do. He just loves us so much, and we're all invited to heaven.
And he knows my heart, and I don't have to call on his name.
Exactly. That's a rejection of his name. You see how important his name is?
Well, his words aren't to come to naught. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than knowing a person's name, especially your beloved, your first love, you know.
Hallelujah. Yeah, you could do it. You could take a Strong's Concordance. Everybody ought to have a Strong's Concordance. And you can look up the word name and all the places he talks about his name, his name, his name. It's huge. In fact, there's a verse in Psalm, I forget what verse chapter it's in. Maybe you know, Tessa. It says his name above all, his word and his name above all. I'll have to look it up. I think it's Psalm 118 or something, but I'm a little busy right now. But if anybody else wants to look it up, it's his
I'll look
name
it up.
above all. Thank you, Tessa. And let me see if I can keep moving forward. So we're in 14 verse 12. And then, so verse 13, now I've heard a voice out of heaven saying to me, right, Baruch are the dead who die in the master from now on. So that's interesting. Baruch are the dead
Yes,
in the master from now on.
that really stood out to me. Really stood out to me when I was actually reading that, and I thought, wow. So those who do decide not to take the mark, to worship and
Yeah.
go for the image, everyone who stands firm and lose their life, but not lose their fleshly life, but not their eternal life. That tells me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, because it's just talking about the one messenger is talking about anyone who receives the mark of his name and the torture that's coming for them, and that they're losing eternal life here.
Yeah.
Here is, yeah, so Baruch are the dead who die in the master from now on. So it's right at following that. This next voice that comes. Yes, says the Ruach, in order that they rest from their labors and their works follow with them. So they're going to rest from their labors. I mean, this life is full of toil and hardship, and the time you get to spend with your loved ones is it, you know, I'm thinking of like your, you know, your family of origin, your family gatherings. They're short. You don't get to spend a lot of time there. You're busy working and running your life, and so on and so forth. There's heavy labor in this lifetime, and there's going to be rest from that when your life is required of you. And it's just sort of like, okay, if I'm on the earth, I'm serving Yahuwah. And if I get put in a prison, I'm serving Yahuwah. If I get, you know, moved somewhere, but if some enemy comes in and takes us, I'm serving Yahuwah there. And if they kill me, then I'll serve Yahuwah where I'm at after that.
Yeah, there's two passages that I think are beautiful that go with that, and that's Daniel 12:13. But as for you, go on your way until the end. You will rest and will arise in your inheritance at the end of days. And also Isaiah 57:2 says, those who walk uprightly enter into shalom. They will they will rest laying down in death. It's just like, wow. I love the promises.
Yes. I'll just read it again while I get it on the screen now. The righteous one has perished, and no one takes it to heart. And kind men are taken away, while no one understands that the righteous one is taken away from the presence of evil. What does evil do? It pursues wickedness. So the righteous one is taken away from the presence of evil. When you die, you're taken away from the presence of evil. He enters into peace. They who walk in integrity rest on their beds. Beautiful.
It's a beautiful promise. Claim it.
Yeah. And then how about the next one? But come here, you sons of the sorceress, you offspring of the adulterer and the whore. It's
Yeah.
another thing coming over there. Against whom are you sporting?
It's like, sorry.
Go ahead, Tessa.
It's like when you've read the book of Proverbs, and you've got the good and the bad that comes with it. It's right there. Again.
Yeah. Yeah. The good and then the bad, the Tob and then the evil. And it goes on in verse.
Yeah, if you do and if you don't. If you do and if you don't.
Choose wisely.
Yeah.
Again, whom are you sporting? Against whom do you make a wide mouth and stick out your tongue? Who are you sticking your tongue out at? Are you not children of transgression, offspring of falsehood? There's that word falsehood showed up again. Being inflamed with mighty ones under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys under the clefts of the rocks. Among the smooth stones of the stream is your portion. They are your lot. Also to them you have poured a drink offering. You have offered a grain offering. Am I comforted in these? On a high and lofty mountain you have set your bed. There too you went up to make an offering. Yeah. All right. Let's go back to Revelation 14.
If you wanted to, I think it was Psalm 113 when it comes to Yahuwah is high above the nations. His esteem is above the heavens.
Is it 13? He talks about his name above all. Seems like I want to say
Baruch,
some. Yeah, did you find it?
Baruch be his name, the name of Yahuwah forever and ever. And I think it's Psalm 148. Let them praise his name, the name of Yahuwah, for his name alone is exalted. 7. There's so many passages when it comes to it. There's also Psalm 72.
Scripture.
May his
Let me
name endure forever.
His name above all scripture. Let me just see if I see it. It's going to be something like Psalm 118. And you know, sometimes when you search things, you just have to put in the Lord to even come up with what you're looking for. This may be it. This may be it. Psalm 148:13. I don't think it is. I think it's a verse 2. If I had a minute here to flip through my scripture, I'd probably land right on it. ISR verse 13. Let's see. Let them praise the name of Yahuwah, for his name alone is exalted, his splendor. No, there's a place where he says, he speaks about his word, and then he says, I think he says he lifts his word, his name above all. I'll put that in the description. I will locate it for you guys when I flip through my Psalms. I'll find that for you guys. And I looked and saw a white cloud. And by the way, I know that verse because Eric Bissell talked about it. Thought it was so cool. I looked and saw a white cloud, and sitting on the cloud was one like the son of Adam, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And another messenger came out of the dwelling place, crying with a loud voice to the one sitting on the cloud, send your sickle and reap, because the hour has come for you to reap, because the harvest of the earth is ripe. And the one sitting on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another messenger came. So there's a lot of messengers going on here in this chapter. A lot of
there's 7.
Wow. And another messenger came. I mean, this should be like the day that heaven, you know, rolled away the barrier between us, and we could see up in there and hear. And I mean, it's just amazing to kind of think about all of this. And another messenger.
If you do a study on the 7s, you'd be surprised. Like, it's just endless. There's so many 7s of everything in the book of Revelation.
Significance of the 7 with these messengers.
Say that again.
What do you think is the significance of the 7 here with these messengers?
Well, 7's it's like rest, isn't it?
Well, it definitely would be like complete. Sure, of course, it's rest. It's rest from the wickedness. It's like, let's just get into this already. Yeah, and completeness. What did I hear? Like it's a perfect. I don't know, something you might have heard it. You might have been in here, Tessa, when we were reading about it. But it's like 7 is the perfect number for earth.
It's perfection.
And 8 is the perfect number for heaven, or something like that. I think it's sort of an infinity sort of a concept, or at least in heaven, 8 is an awesome number, or something like that.
Yes. 8 is this, like, it's like the circumcision, the completion of it. It's like the 8th day. You need to do the 7 before you get to the 8.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's a 1 up from the 7 for earth. Yeah. And 7's pretty awesome on the earth. So 7's what we got here. We didn't get 8, we got 7. So
not yet.
Not yet. That was a number for us here on earth. And so anyway, it says, and another messenger came out from the altar having authority over the fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him having the sharp sickle, saying, send your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, because her grapes are ripe. We've heard of the grapes of wrath, right? And the messenger thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and threw it into the great winepress in the wrath of Elohim. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress up to the bridles of the horses for about 300 kilometers.
Yeah, it's when you see on a scale, I ended up seeing, I think it was a Chuck Missler demonstration on it, and how far it was in the land of Israel. It's mind-boggling. It really is. But
Yeah.
it is the grape harvest. It is the wine. And isn't that the four feasts?
Yeah, this could be a timestamp on Yahuwah's calendar as well.
Yeah.
It could be a time of the fall feast. It could include Yom Kippur. I mean, like, that's definitely a feast you want to know about. If you don't know about it, it's definitely one you want to know about. Study out Yom Kippur. This could definitely be a Yom Kippur kind of a concept.
Yeah,
Because
if you don't come under the covering of the blood of the Lamb, your blood's going to be spilt.
That's very true. So, is there anything else you guys want to study in this chapter before we close out our study? We have made it to the end of the chapter. And
I just like to
go ahead, Tessa.
I just say that when it comes to doesn't it in Joel 3 talk about swing the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Yes. Joel 3, halfway through it, I think.
Okay.
Trample the grapes, for the winepress is full. The wine vats overflow because their wickedness is great.
Here we go, right here.
That's it.
Yeah. It says, verse 7, I'll start there. See, I'm stirring them up out of the place to which you have sold them, and I shall return on your own head what you have done, and shall sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the people of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the ShaBaTs, to a nation far off. For Yahuwah has spoken. Proclaim this among the Gentiles. Prepare for battle. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of battle draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. You're going to have to be strong. Hasten and come, all you Gentiles, and gather together all around. O Yahuwah, let your mighty men come down here. Let the Gentiles be aroused and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, which means Yahuwah judges. It's Yehoshaphat. For there I shall sit to judge all the Gentiles on every side. Somebody's got a mic open, maybe to YouTube. Put in the sickle, for the harvest has grown ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is filled. The vats overflow, for their evil is great. Crowds in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahuwah is near in the valley of decision. Sun and moon shall become dark, and stars shall withdraw their brightness. And Yahuwah
That's
shall...
the plagues of Egypt coming about again.
Yeah. And Yahuwah shall roar from Zion and give forth his voice from Jerusalem, that's Jerusalem. And the heavens and earth shall shake, but Yahuwah shall be a refuge for his people and a stronghold for the children of Yasharel. So it's not all bad news here. We have to understand he has provision for his people.
And there's also the barakah of written in Genesis, Bereshit 49:11, when it gives you the final blessing to Judah, when it says he ties his donkey to the vine and his colt of choice. If you want to go to that one, I think it's 11.
Yes.
Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey a colt of choice to a choice vine. Who went in the week before Passover on a donkey, and he washed his garments with wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. Like that's right back in the book of Bereshit.
Yes, it is. Wow. So
The
amazing.
the parallels that are there, Darla, it's just amazing.
It is just amazing. It is just amazing to see our Messiah right there.
Yeah.
And to him is the obedience of peoples. And being raised in church, it was kind of like, well, so the Messiah died for us on, we didn't call it the execution stake then, we called it the cross. He died for us, and somehow his death meant his father's laws had just all been done away with. That's the stumbling block that Isaiah 8 verse 14 talked about. Judah didn't see the Messiah, and the Gentiles, aka those who didn't keep the Torah, see the Torah. They didn't see that the commands of Yahuwah were to be kept, and that's why the Messiah died, because people weren't keeping his commands. They had rebelled. They had rebelled against the Father and decided, well, we don't have to do that. We could go serve these other deities. We could keep Halloween. We could keep Easter and go find Easter eggs on Easter morning, bowing to the fertility deity. We just thought, oh, that's great. That's a great way to bring in new people, because, hey, they'll all come for Christmas Eve service, and they'll all come for Easter service, and then they won't come back to church for a whole year. So we got to grab them while they're there. Let's put on a big Easter egg hunt. Let's bring them in and make their Easter baskets in Sunday school. Let's just, they all wake up Easter morning, get their Easter baskets, and then come to church, and then go home and have a big ham dinner. Well, that's
they have how many days in the beast feast instead of how many that versus how much time you can have in Father's feast. It's
we weren't raised to know his feast. We weren't raised,
No.
but he calls
and that's
us.
due to the curse, is it not?
Yes, it's certainly not knowing his name, I believe, is because of the curse. And that's when he woke me up and said, they took my own name out of my own book.
Yeah.
Is that fair? He's very much about his name. Yeah, big old Halloween parties, but nobody knows the feast. Well, not nobody, but very few observe the feast in Leviticus 23, the ones Yahuwah gave us. And he didn't say these are the Jewish feast. He said they're my feast.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Big difference. Big difference.
very big difference. I think we'll close here, but I'm going to strongly encourage anybody who listens to our amazing studies. I think they're amazing, because I believe Yahuwah brings out what he wants brought out through us to share. And so if you've been here to the end, I'm going to say it a third time. Watch Identity Crisis. You'll have a completely better understanding by somebody who's a great speaker in the word. He was given this message. I believe it's completely anointed to teach us Gentiles, those who didn't keep the everlasting covenant, aka the heathens, about the tribes of Israel, about how we actually fit into Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh, well, they're just the fathers of whatever. No, it's not like that. No, they're your actual ancestors. They're your actual ancestors if you'll have what they brought forth, what they through relationship and through Yahuwah remembering his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you will tap into that, it's yours for the taking. It's yours. And he says, if you seek him with all your heart, you will find him. It's a great
Hallelujah.
hallelujah. All right, y'all. I'm gonna
Shalom,
gonna-
everybody. Thank you.
thank you for helping us
Be
here, Ted.
strengthened.
Yeah,
strengthened.
you will be with you and be with you. And we're going through some tough times coming up here. I don't think this year is going to be a pretty year. So who will be with you all, and just bind yourself tightly to Yahuwah. Shalom and have a great week.
Shalom.